What's going on, everybody? We are back doing a nice little tier list video for you. Today, we are going to rank all of the fun, elite, premium, special controllers, whatever you want to call them. I know they go by a couple different names. Let me adjust my mic here real quick. Always a good way to start. All right. So, I made this tier list on my own. I uploaded all the pictures and everything. I am using some of like the base controllers. Um, They're gonna go right in the middle here. Obviously, we'll touch on them briefly, but nothing too major. I'm sure most of you watching this video probably know what you're getting into. So right here, you're gonna have the base PS4 controller. Obviously, all of the base controllers are gonna be good enough, at least I'd say, for the price. Maybe with the exceptions of Joy Cons. Um, Obviously, they don't do anything special. No paddles. Literally just the controller, that kind of stuff. So you guys know the drill. When it comes right down to it, I actually personally prefer the symmetrical sticks as opposed to the offset ones like the Xbox controller has. But that's just me. It's personal flavor. I know most people are on the other side and prefer Xbox, but hopefully that doesn't factor too much into this list at least. We got the Joy Cons, obviously very expensive. Very interesting that it's technically two controllers in one, but who really likes using a sideways Joy-Con anyways, right? But for what they are, they're pretty good. They're a little more expensive, but they do have some special stuff in them. The motion, the rumble, the HD rumble, obviously, and some other nifty features like the NFC reader. So they do a lot of things, and then we pretty much got the same status quo again for the Switch Pro controller here. I like the Pro controller a lot. I think it does a lot of things well. It has all the functions of the Joy Cons built into an actual controller, but also kind of on the pricey side for a base controller. But the ones we're gonna be talking about down here are a little ridiculous. So I'm gonna just reorganize them real quick here, just to have certain ones at certain spots. That's fine. That can go there. We'll put that one there. Oops. Yeah, we're gonna do it like that, I think. So we're gonna start. This is the Xbox Elite controller. This is the Microsoft branded one. I'm sure most of you out there have seen this controller. Have probably even used an Elite controller from Microsoft. Overall, it's tricky, right? Like it does some good stuff. It's got some bad stuff. Would I put it on par with a base controller? I think I am gonna rank this one below. I think it does one really nice thing, kind of two, and I am kind of lumping in the Elite One and the Elite Two into this pairing here. The paddles on the back are nice, right? They push really easily. Unfortunately, I wish that they actually took a little more pressure to trigger, but overall, I think they're in a good position. They feel nice to use. I think that they're definitely better than a lot of the other paddles out there, though they do need some improvements. For me specifically, the biggest issue I see with the Microsoft branded Elite Xbox controller is the firmware in it just has some issues. The connectivity on it is really bad. Some of the pieces also aren't as durable as they should be. It feels like a lot of the metal on the sticks chafe a little bit. Um, the paddles, like the paddle pieces where they actually connect into the controller, I have had issues with them breaking or a piece actually becoming dislodged in there. And if you open up the controller, it's a really simple fix, but it's not something that should be happening on like $150 to $200 controller, especially when it is from the company that makes the hardware, right? Um, Outside of that, I prefer the D-pad. I like the octagonal D-pad, if you will. It makes it a little bit easier to do some rolls without losing that four-way function that a D-pad typically has. And obviously, having a profile switch is nice, but um, I personally think for 2.5 times the price of a standard Xbox controller or more, depending on where you're buying your Xbox controllers, it doesn't offer enough and have good enough firmware and connectivity to justify its price. So I would put it a little bit below. Next up, we have the aim controller, right? And I'm going to put aim in glaring issues. Probably nothing will end up in this not worth the price necessarily. Um, and in fact, I don't think anything will. It is just down there to show that it could be worse, I suppose. And there are controllers that would be down there, just none of the ones we're talking about today. But I would definitely put aim and glaring issues right now. I have a couple aims. Um, First and foremost, I have had a lot of problems with aim themselves, like the company. Um, Basically calling me and saying, "Hey, you requested this shell or these sticks or these triggers in a specific color or specific function. We don't have that." And I go, oh, "Okay, that's fine. I'll wait till you have them." And they go, "No, we don't want to wait. We're gonna send you different ones. So do you want this or this?" And if I say no, they basically say, "Okay, we'll pick one for you and send it to you." Out of all my aims, I have to say, I had, I believe I've had two come perfectly correct, uh, and normal. The rest have had issues. They also suffer for some from very weird Bluetooth connectivity issues to the PlayStation. For some reason, it's roughly about every 2 hours I've noticed over many different play sessions that they just disconnect for a minute and reconnect. And if you're in the middle of a gunfight or you're in the middle of doing something important, it's gonna get you killed. It's gonna be a problem, and it's not something that should be happening on what we have been told is a base DualShock 4 that has been modified. Um, that alone sets it apart. Also, the problems with the company kind of brings it down a little bit, and the issues I've had. They've always been very nice. They have decent customization options, customizability. I don't actually know if that's a word, but we're gonna go with it. But there's decent options. Maybe not as many as some other companies. And my biggest issue with their customization options um, is that not everything is standard. So you can get a matte yellow controller and matte yellow buttons, and the yellows are not just a little different, but very different between the two. And if you're trying to make a nice controller that's got, it's white with yellow accents or something, the yellows are going to be different, whether on the sticks, they're on the buttons, they're on the triggers, they're all different colors or different shades. And to me, it makes your controller look really janky. It makes it look really third party. It's not something you want. So, for all those reasons, I'm going to put it down in glaring issues. However, the one thing I do want to touch about on AIM is that you see right here, they've got this nice little spider design for their paddles in the back. Phenomenal. Just the right amount of sensitivity to press. They're a little bit firm, but they're not too hard that you really have to press. It's just a nice light click. It's got a good sound. They're very responsive. It's very, very easy to reprogram the buttons. I have had no problems so far with any of the paddles for an aim controller. You can take the bottom or the top ones off if you just want to. Um, I think that they have probably some of, if not the best paddles on the market, bar none. I think the aim ones are fantastic. Next up, we're going to talk about the Battle Beaver controller. I'm showing the back here mainly because from the front, you can't really tell it's a Battle Beaver controller. So for the aim and the Battle Beaver, the real specialties are on the back. Battle Beaver I'm going to put up in the must-buy category. I also apologize for not having a white background to make it stand out a little bit. Um, Battle Beavers are excellent. And in fact, I actually have one right here that I'd like to show off. See right there, that's my Battle Beaver. It's got the white splatter with the black, back splatter. A lot of splatter, basically. I just have a paint bucket of a controller. Where to start with this thing? It's got, you can get triggers. You can get what do you call these? Like the digital tap triggers. There we go. They have three different kinds. You can get standards that have no digital tap. You can get the full digital tap, which is just like a mouse click, or you can get the racer triggers, which is what these are. So they have, and it's gonna be really hard to see, but they have like a half press and then just a click. So if you're playing a racing game, you can still get that throttle of moving the trigger somewhat, and then it goes into that full click. So it's going to be a little bit quicker if you play a lot of shooters and you want it for that. Maybe the full digital tap is for you. They feel a lot more durable than any other brand, so I really prefer them. They have a nice solid click to them, and they don't feel like they're gonna break if you push on it too much. Um, there's so many things with these controllers. Like, it feels quality. They feel so well built. Legitimately, like the way that the rear shell and the front shell are connected feels like legitimately better than the standard controller, like the base controller, it's wild. They have like their own buttons that they use. They're not stock buttons. They feel really nice. There's a good sense of pressure to them. They don't push as easily as the standard DualShock 4. You can get a D-pad mod that all four of the buttons on the D-pad are independent of each other. If you have a just any controller, you'll know that the D-pad is one piece of plastic that kind of spins on an axis with a spike in the middle. This is just four independent buttons, so you're not accidentally pressing the wrong direction. They have customizable sticks. Like for instance, this one I have the interchangeable sticks. So like literally the cap of the stick pops off here, so you can just like interchange them and put different ones on and stuff. There's a lot there. They have tension on the sticks, so I have increased tension. There's also like a maximum tension that's even requires more pressure to move the stick. Which is great for any kind of fine-tuned aim down sights, anything like that. They're wonderful. And last but not least, the piece that we came here to talk about, and you might be able to see it here in the picture as well. They've got these little nubs on the back, these little buttons, which I know they're hard to see. But you can see them right here. And you can even just take it. That's a nice click sound, man. They've got these special pads, these special clicky buttons on the back that work as the paddles. You can get them placed. You can send in a controller and get the buttons placed literally anywhere you want on the back, or they have 5 like standard placements, so you can choose 1 or 2 of those placements on each side. You can switch it up. You can have 2 high on the right side and 2 low on the left side. You can do whatever you want. It is really crazy to me how much customization goes into a Battle Beaver. I've had no connectivity issues, no charging issues, which is also sometimes a problem with a lot of these third-party controllers. No drifting issues. I've had no like button input issues. I have had no issues at all with the Battle Beaver controller, and I think that's part of what sets it apart from any of these other companies, as well as just the sheer amount of customization options available on their site. The last 5 we have here are all going to be SCUF controllers, so we'll be a little bit quicker on them, but I'll try and give a little bit of detail on each. This is going to be the Xbox Prestige. I would go ahead and put it in, honestly, I actually probably would put it in a solid choice. If you're basically looking for an elite Xbox controller, the Prestige is the one to get. They have specialty new paddles. SCUF has all new paddles now that they're using. They have like their standard paddles that they've been using for the last couple of years that have a little bit of issues here and there. And then these brand new paddles that are wonderful. They don't break as easily. They fit your finger a lot better. They fit on the controller a lot better. So a lot of the new SCUFs that I have those specialty paddles on them. Additionally, you can get like the trigger stops. You can also get the digital taps if you want them in there. There seems to be no connectivity issues that I'm having. They work with PC, which is something that the Elite down here doesn't do very well. And it's actually very sporadic, which is strange. SCUF has been known to have decent customization options across the board. Although the Xbox ones are a little more on the light side in terms of those options than the PS4 ones. But overall, it's a great choice. It's got 4 paddles on the back. And additionally, the new Prestige doesn't require batteries. Just plug that bad boy in and it's charging. I'm really interested. I actually am not sure where I'm going to put the Elite controller right now for the Xbox from the SCUF. This is the SCUF Elite. I probably would put it... I think I'm going to put it like on par with the base controllers. Is weird. Well, I guess I have to put it... I'll put it in needs fixes, right? But that, for all intents and purposes, it's kind of equal with these. First off, if you've seen the picture, this is the standard. These are the SCUF branded paddles. They're awful. Don't ever get them. If they're like SCUF paddles, don't buy them. You want to get the standard Elite ones. They feel a little more solid than the originals. I think that the housing that they go in the back of the controller is actually built better than the Microsoft branded one. And I think that's what the issue is. I'm almost positive that the paddles themselves are the exact same ones Microsoft uses. Again, still has some of those connectivity issues that the first one has, but the controller feels a little more solid. The grips feel a little bit better. The controller fits in your hand. It's not quite as big as the Microsoft branded one, because it is built out of the shell of a standard Xbox controller, so it feels a little bit better. Um, you also have the option to get the trigger stops. You can customize it across the board. So overall, I think it ends up being better than the Microsoft branded Elite controller. Now we're getting into the PS4 style ones. This is gonna be the 4PS Pro. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in needs fixes for a lot of the same reasons that the Elite scuff is in there. For one, the paddles, you only get two paddles and they're centered kind of far away from where your fingers sit. So it can be a little complicated to reach them at times, but I have small hands, so you know, it happens when you got the tiny hand issues. Customization options are pretty good across the board. You can get the digital taps, you can get the trigger stops, the whole 9 yards. Little bit of connectivity and charging issues. Unfortunately, sometimes specifically if it's plugged in and your PS4 is in rest mode, it just doesn't charge. I don't know why. It seems to only be a problem specifically with the 4PS, which is interesting because they're built out of the DualShock 4, so they should work the same way the DualShock 4 does, but for some reason it doesn't work. Very easy to switch out the sticks if you want to do that. But otherwise, it's a solid thing. It has a couple of issues that are holding it back from moving up. This is going to be the Scuff Impact controller for PS4. I'm going to put this one in a solid choice. I don't have any connectivity issues with it. I don't have any problems with it in terms of working with the PS4 or even working with the PC. They both work like via Bluetooth, so I've had no problems with that. The one minor issue I have is that the middle paddles on the back of the impact are impossible to reach. They are so far into the center of the controller that your fingers have to really stretch around to be able to push them. And then when you do push them, they take quite a bit of force, which makes it a little bit difficult, unfortunately. I'm hearing stuff going on behind me. So overall, it's a good choice if you're looking for a PS4 controller to pick up and you want to get a premium one. Again, customization options across the board are good. You can change out the sticks anytime that you want. It's got the digital tap, the trigger stops, whole 9 yards for what you could need. The last one we have here is going to be the Scuff Vantage controller. Now, where would I rank this one? It's so difficult. I personally am going to put it up in a solid choice for a couple reasons. I love my Vantage. It's got the offset sticks, which I know a lot of people like. I have had no connectivity issues at all, even though it has been an issue that you've seen a lot on Reddit, a lot on the forums. There's been connectivity issues across the board for a lot of users. I personally have not experienced any with my Vantage. Connects to both PC and the PS4. No problems, doesn't disconnect. The one singular issue I have had with my Vantage and all the time that I have used it is that if it is plugged into the PlayStation at all, rest mode, PlayStation on, what have you, it'll do this thing where the controller will shut itself off, which they do when they're plugged in. And then after 10 minutes, it will turn itself back on. So if you have the controller plugged in charging to your rest mode PS4, after 10 minutes, the controller will turn itself on and then it'll wake up the PS4. If you have it plugged in and the PS4 is in like that dim mode where it's dim the screen and everything, it'll light it back up. For some reason, the controller does not stay in its rest mode and its standard charging state without wanting to turn itself on after that 10 minutes. I have tested it on many different controllers, many different PlayStations. It does it with the PC. It's only if it's plugged into like a system. If it's plugged into like a box to the wall, it doesn't do it. But if it's plugged into a PS4 or plugged into a PC, for some reason it wants to turn itself on. I don't know if this is a firmware problem or what have you, but it has always been an issue. So take that as you will. If that's a big problem for you, then maybe it's not going to be the best choice. Other than that, I've had no problems with it. The faceplates are magnetized to the controller, so you can swap them out. Any pieces are super easy to swap out. You can actually use both a D-pad and a control disc on there and have no issues. It's even like, it's kind of modular in a way. Not exactly modular, like the Astra C40, for example. But you pop it up and it's just got the open board right there. So you can just grab your pieces on and off, switch out whatever you need. If you wanted to switch out buttons, it's actually pretty easy. Although I wouldn't recommend doing it because it'll void the warranty. but it's pretty easy to do. Again, you can get digital taps, you can get the trigger stops, you can get the whole 9 yards. The paddles on it are absolutely amazing. They fit kind of the same way that the impact does, but because it's a little bit bulkier, a little bit fatter in your hands, your fingers center a little bit more, and it's easier to reach those middle paddles. Um, I've had no issues with it. I think it's a great controller. I would definitely recommend a Battle Beaver over it, and over any controller at this point. Um, but I think if you're looking for something that has that offset sticks but works with your PS4, the Vantage is going to be the way to go. So, anyways, that's my list. Let me know down in the comments why I'm an idiot and which one you think should be at the top and at the bottom, and if any of them are worth the price to you. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next week with another tier list.